nightmares in my head.
So I went to the library where I came across some old Spanish reports about this area. And what's important to know is that this whole area where we are, like up on Pikes Peak,
which is right behind you,
which is, yeah, like as Bruce said, right behind us, was basically this gray zone between the Louisiana territories and the Spanish one. And the Spanish were super keen on keeping anyone out of the resource, like fur trappers and anything. And so something interesting that they said in this report, is very brief, right, was that they had intelligence information saying that there was a company of Frenchmen up here, like 32 French fur trappers that built as like a big cabin somewhere within up on around Pikes Peak on a creek called Cabin Creek that flowed into Fountain Creek. And they were going to try to send some dispatch over there to arrest them, because they were notorious for arresting people that came into their territory and holding them in prisons either in Santa Fe or down in Mexico City. So interestingly enough here, what you see is that this cabin itself, there's a creek right down here called Cabin Creek that flows into Ruxton. And it makes me wonder if perhaps before Ruxton came up here, the whole creek itself was known as Cabin Creek, flowing into Fountain Creek. And as you can see here, this whole area at one time was burned. You can really see on the outside. And it makes me wonder if maybe what we're seeing here is evidence from the Great Burn. And that's why these are so much bigger than most of the ones around us. Like if you see, there are a few here that are big enough. And maybe that is the answer. But I talked to Eric Schwab, who's the local historian for here. And for a long time, he had just assumed that, yeah, this was just from Fred Barr. But there's no actual record of him building it. The only record of him using it. And a bunch of other people, like the Forest Service used it too at one time. And all kinds of different uses throughout the time. So really what would be helpful is to see when this fire took place, because if this is a known fire, then we can maybe clarify oh, maybe that happened afterwards. But I do think this might be the French cabin they were talking about, which would make it very old. And I think the reason it's lasted so long is because they kept it, the people that use it later would upkeep it. So a big thing to find out, and I don't know how much has changed, is something like this. So I brought the attention to an anthropologist up in Colorado College, and he said a way to tell is to see either saw marks or hatchet marks, and that's kind of explains kind of what year it is, because there's a certain year where saws didn't exist, right? And saws were a lot harder to come by. So this might indicate that it is a lot more modern, but because it's been used over and over again, there's no telling if this wasn't taken afterwards to do it. So it needs more history, but that's my hypothesis on the matter. And Brutus, do you think there's anything else I should share? So what do you guys think? If you know any answers to this, let me know. Thanks.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath.